Hey guys, so we're gonna jump right back into Hope Never Dies with chapter 14 and 15 today. So, him and Barack and Steve were gonna go and do some investigation on their own. So, and they were at a motel that Finn was staying at because he had rented out his house after his wife had been put into hospice. So, let's see if they find anything out. And they were trying to be incognito as possible, but we know that's not going to work. Alright, so chapter 14. I swung the Challenger into the motel parking lot. There were around 20 rooms lined up in a row, with the main office situated in the middle. A half-dozen cars, all nondescript jalopies. The very idea that Finn lived the last few months of his life in this roach haven made me sick to my stomach. He'd been a proud government employee. He deserved better. Color TVs, Barack said, reading this from the sign out front. Color TVs. That settles it, I said. I'm getting us a room. Steve piped up from the back seat. If we're staying here, I'd like to check the rooms first for potential jackals. Run the plates in the parking lot. We're not staying here, Barack said. Joe was kidding. I stayed in dumps like the heart of Wilmington on my first campaign, first city council. There was no way Barack and I would be staying here. Not now that we reached an age where a good night's sleep was more refreshing than a lemonade. Which room was Finn's? I asked. 110, Barack said. I looked at Steve. You're the one with the badge. Why don't you see if it's available for a quick look-see? And leave you two out here on your own? You think we're gonna drive off without you, Barack said. I'm concerned about your safety, Mr. President. We'll wait in the car, Barack said. We'll lock the doors. If anybody so much looks in our direction, we'll honk the horn. Then you come in guns a-blazing and save the day. You'll look like a hero. They'll just give you a book deal. What would I do with a book deal? I took my glasses off and rubbed the bridge of my nose. The sun was beginning to set. The drive had taken twice as long as I expected, thanks to Steve's insistence that we stick to back roads. Apparently, everything with Steve was going to take twice as long. I'll go, I said, unlocking my door. Steve sighed rather dramatically. Stay in the car. I'll be right back. He left us muttering something under his breath that sounded a lot like 6 weeks. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I leaned close to Barack. What happens in 6 weeks? He's leaving for cat training, Barack said. This guy's been putting his body through hell the past 6 months trying to get in shape. You can ask him all about it. He'll talk your ear off if you give him a chance. Huh. You know, it's his job to protect us, Barack said. It's his job to protect you. That shut Barack up. If Steve graduated from the training program, he would join the counter-assault team, an elite paramilitary squad of service agents who provide the firepower in case of an attack on the president. Steve was on his way to the show. No more time putzing around with has-beens like us. Once Steve was inside the motel office, I swung open my door. Where are you going, Barack asked. Cool your jets, I'm just stretching my legs. I slammed the door and hobbled around the car, trying to work the kinks out of my back. The kinks in my leg were going to need more work. The swelling around my knee looked worse than before. I'd obviously torn something, and I wasn't sure it would heal on its own. It hurt when I stretched my leg, and it hurt when I didn't stretch my leg. It needed ice and rest, neither of which I was likely to get anytime soon. I returned to my seat and turned up the radio. All I heard was the faint voice of a preacher fading in and out, sermonizing about heaven and hell. I'd heard enough sermonizing at the service today. I turned off the radio. That's interesting, Barack said. At first I thought he meant the radio program, but then I followed Barack's gaze to a woman standing at the door of her room. She fumbled through her purse. The room number read 110. Finn's room. I didn't have a good view of her face, but I could see she had long blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail that reached her waist. A lot of hair. How do you think she uses the toilet? I asked Barack. Excuse me? With hair like that? She can't just sit down. Or she dip it into the toilet. If she flips it to the side, it touches the floor. Forget the hair. She's trying to jimmy open the door. I took a second look. My vision wasn't what it once was. But it appeared she was sliding a credit card along the door lock. The motel's doors had old-style keyholes, not magnetic card readers. She could be a guest, I said without conviction. Could be. Then again, she could be a burglar who broke into Donnelly's home during the wake. Could be. There's only one way to find out. I opened my door. We should wait for Steve, Barack said, but it was too late. I was already out of the car, and I wasn't wasting any more time with him. The Secret Service couldn't tell me what to do anymore. Barack mumbled something and got out too. I took one look at his gray flecked scalp and shook my head. What? He whispered. Your cap, I said. Reached back into the car and handed Barack the Phillies hat. Oh, and don't lose it. It's Jill's. She's a Philly fan. Don't ask me why. Barack put it on, but when we turned back around, the woman was gone. Was she in the room? Or had we spooked her? Again, there was only one way to find out. We approached the door to room 110, moving as stealthily as my bum knee would allow. Inside, the lights were out. The curtains were pulled shut. I put a hand on the knob and gave it a slight twist. It wasn't locked. Neither of us had a weapon. This was a minor problem. If somebody, the woman, had just broken into the room, this meant she was a criminal, and criminals carry guns. I wish I'd packed my pistol, but then again, maybe it was a good thing I hadn't. If we really truly ran into trouble, would I have been able to pull it out of my Chinko shorts without shooting off my family jewels? Barack would have had a real field day if that ever happened. Barack placed one of his oversized ears, on the door. Political cartoonist had loved to mock Barack's elephant ears. If only they could see him now, using them for their God-intended purpose. It's so mean. I shouldn't laugh. Oh. What do you hear? I whispered. A pickup the size of a semi rumbled past the motel. Don't hear a thing, Barack said after it passed. Then I say we go in. Legally speaking, we're trending on some dangerous ground, Barack said. This is breaking and entering. Even if the door's unlocked? Barack nodded. Damn it, I said. I don't want to start another Watergate. We're not in the White House anymore. We're private citizens. And as private citizens, it's still illegal. Even if the door's unlocked. I already said. The door swung inward. I tumbled to the floor and Barack tripped over me. We landed in a heap, in a jumbled mess of arms and legs. Can I help you? I looked up. The lamps were off, but there was a thin beam of light coming from the bathroom, illuminating the room, just enough to see the curvaceous outline of a beautiful woman with damp hair down to her waist. She was wearing a hotel towel, just a white towel. Whatever Barack and I thought we'd seen her doing outside, we'd obviously been wrong. I didn't imagine many burglars stopped to take a shower during heist. I tipped my hat to her. Good evening, ma'am. We're looking for the pool, Barack said, untwisting himself from me. We apparently have taken the wrong turn. The woman studied us for a moment. I might have been dressed for a pool, but there was no way Barack was going swimming in his navy suit. They didn't tell me there was a pool, the woman said, with a hint of a southern accent. Come on, Joe. We'll take it up to the front desk, Barack said. Then to the woman he added, sorry to have disturbed you. She maintained a bewildered look on her face as we quietly backed out of the room. I can't believe you called me by my real name, I said in a hushed tone. On our way back to the car. I don't think she recognized us, Barack said. I mean, we have these great disguises. You're making fun of me. Barack slapped me on the back. She can call all of her friends. She can post about it online. Who would ever believe her? I shrugged. Yeah, you're right. So, next time we run into trouble, we're using code names. Next time, Barack asked, what are you planning? I only had a vague idea of what we'd been coming here to do, and the vague idea was mostly hot air. We'd just busted in on some innocent woman because our imaginations had gotten the better of us. Neither of us said a word about it, though. We were too embarrassed. What was I planning next? Nothing, if I could help it. We returned to the car. Steve stepped out of the lobby with a key in his hand and a small wooden keychain. I rolled down Barack's window. Let's make it quick, Steve said, passing the key to 110 to Barack. The night clerk said we can take a look around. What about the person in the room now? Barack asked. Steve looked confused. No one's staying in the room now. It's supposed to be empty. Son of a buttermilk biscuit, I said, grimacing. We got bamboozled. That ends chapter 14. That was one of those fun, silly chapters. Yeah, so who do you think this woman is? Well, I'm going into chapter 15, so maybe we'll find out. Never mind. Let's keep going. Chapter 15. It wasn't the first time I had been bamboozled. It wouldn't be the last. Still, I should have seen it coming. There wasn't a woman alive who'd take a shower in a motel without locking the door first. She had taken us for fools because we were a couple of fools. Especially when it came to the fairer sex. Barack and I were chivalrous to a fault. We should have trusted our instincts instead. We'd been flustered into doubting ourselves. The woman was gone long by the time we returned to the room. She left the door swinging open and the towel hanging over the back of the chair. The towel wasn't even wet. If you let me know what you're looking for, I can help, Steve offered. He turned on a lamp. It flickered for a moment before shorting out. This is the first time I've tossed a room for evidence, I said, lifting the pillows off the bed as if I was looking for a chance of change left by the tooth fairy. Fingerprints, I guess? The fingerprints would have been wiped clean by the cleaning person, Barack said, holding up one of the glasses over the overhead light. Although, it looks like no one's cleaned anything in this room for 20 years. It would take us weeks to dust for prints. I left my fingerprint dusting kit at home, so I guess it doesn't matter, I said. You have a fingerprint dusting kit? Barack asked. I peeked underneath the bed. The FBI gave it to me. Gave them to everyone in Congress one year. A Christmas gift. It took longer than usual to get on my feet on account of my knee. Looks like they have a little mouse problem in this establishment. Find some mouse droppings? Barack said. Barack asked. Found a mouse, I said. Just a little guy. He didn't seem too surprised. For $29 a night, I'm surprised he wasn't bigger. I opened and closed the drawers in the dresser, all of which were, of course, were empty. They'd been cleaned out by Finn's family, then by housekeeping, and then possibly by the woman who'd given us the slip. Besides the bed and ratty green sofa chair, the room was bare as a newborn baby's bottom. He certainly likes alliteration. The author, Andrew Schaefer. There wasn't a safe in the closet. There wasn't even a closet. There was a nightstand, but no pad or paper or pen. No pad of paper or pen. That meant I couldn't try out that trick from TV, where the detectives rub a pencil over the top page to get an impression of whatever the criminal had written off of the page. I opened the nightstand drawer. Finally, something. A Gildan Bible. The familiar molted marble imitation leather hardback of the Bible that was in every hotel room in the country. The same type of Bible that the tattooed man had left behind in Darlene's room. Not that this had any kind of connection, or does it? In fact, if the Bible had been missing from the drawer, that would have been something. This was nothing. Either of you ever meet a Gildan? Barack shook his head. Steve, peeking through the curtains, said, I got a cousin who's a Gildan. Really? I said, what's their angle? Spreading the word of Christ. You know what their business model looks like? Steve pulled the curtain closed. They pay for the Bibles with donations. That's all I know. It's just, I've never seen a Gildan church, I said. I'd always wondered if Gildans even existed. My cousin exists, Steve said. She lives in Cleveland. Barack peered out from the bedroom. Did anyone check the bed? I checked under the bed. You actually wanted me to touch the sheets? We were looking for anything Finn may have left behind. But the sheets? Anything, Barack said. I shuddered. At least Barack was taking the bathroom. I didn't want to think about what sad state it was in. But I could guess I'd been in the inside cleaner porta potties at political rallies. The bedspread was pulled all the way up with nice and tight corners, the way Jill made the bed. I pinched the top corner of the bed sheet like I was picking up a dirty diaper and slowly peeled it back. I didn't know what I would expected to find. Blood, a bullet hole, maybe a dirty diaper, all of the above. Fortunately, all I found was bleached white sheets. Not that it made me feel any better about the room. It was no place to pass an hour, let alone the final months in your life. Damn it, Finn. If only you'd told me. Barack made this out of his way. I need some water. My mouth is getting jumbled. Barack made his way out of the bathroom. He shook his head. It was worth a shot, I said, collapsing into the chair. To me, it was undeniable now that Finn had been a part of something larger. We had nothing concrete to prove it to the cops, but there was at least one person sniffing around his trail, possibly more. If the burglary and the break-in at the motel were two different parties, two different criminals, not to mention the hophead in Darlene's room, at the very least, Finn had been involved with the wrong sorts of people. At worst, he'd been the wrong sort of people. Could he have been a criminal himself? And what mattered more? The truth. What mattered more? The truth? Or preserving Finn's name? I promised Grace Donnelly that I'd find out what happened to her father. I hadn't said what I'd do with that information once I found it. The chair's been moved. I glanced up at Barack. What did you say? The chair, he said, pointing to where I was sitting. Has been moved. He crossed the room and knelt down. He ran his hands over the carpet. Recently, too. There are still indentions here. I raised myself out of the chair with only minimal wincing. The last thing I wanted to do was worry Barack. He didn't know how bad my knee was, and I intended on keeping it that way. I bent down to tip the chair to see if there was something hidden underneath it. But Barack and Steve stepped in to do the heavy lifting. Let us young bucks do it, Joe, Barack said. They rolled it onto its back. There was 12 by 12 inch section of carpet missing. The edges were frayed, as if it had been cut up with a serrated knife. There are far better knives to cut carpet with. Like, just fucking... They make carpet razors. Okay. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The bare plywood was showing. There was a faint pink stain in the center. My heart was beating fast, propelled by equal parts terror and excitement. None of us spoke. And that is chapter 15. Right, so we didn't find out who this woman was. So who do you think she is? Why do you think she's snooping around and breaking into hotel rooms and Why do you think somebody ransacked his house? And all that. There's so much happening. Yeah, I can't wait to jump into 16. Want to see where this is going. So, like always, what are your thoughts and predictions down below? And I love you guys. Make sure to boop and hit that like and subscribe button. And I will see you guys in chapter 17. Or 16 and 17. Yeah, that's what it is. Bye, you guys.